Hi there, and welcome back to the Beyond Trend podcast by Blackmon. I'm your host, Erik Janssen Steenberg, and I'm still joined by Antony Hawman and Lauretta Roberts, founders and owners of TheIndustry.fashion and TheIndustry.beauty. We are looking into what makes the fashion industry so cutting edge, from technology to changing consumer behavior, legislation, etc. So we left off after a good portion of questions, but I have a doozy. So, guys, we know you guys know what is going on in the market. You know the sector inside out. What is that one surprising insight or, for example, brand story that really stood out for you in the last couple of weeks/months?
Well, I'll go first, shall I? I think you can't have a podcast about fashion retail in the UK market, which is where we are, and not talk about Marks and Spencer.
Yeah, I knew that was coming.
Surprising, right? But it's a good one. Okay,
Yeah.
This is a brand that is beloved, but until a couple of years ago was really struggling, particularly on the fashion front. It just was, it lost its way. It became a little bit dull. There would always be this odd flurry of good bits of product, but overall it really struggled. And they brought in a new chairman and CEO, Archie Norman and Stuart Machin. They shook up their fashion leadership. They now have a lady called Maddie Evans running women's wear, who was ex-Topshop, for example. And they just pulled a blinder, like root and branch, complete reinvention of their fashion, from their baby wear to their kids wear to their sportswear, menswear, women's wear, lingerie, you name it. Nothing was left unexamined. They looked at everything, the quality, the design, the colours, everything. And the brand ambassadors that they did, the partnerships that they did, and they turned that fashion business around. And that is like basically redirecting a steamship. It's massive. They did it at a time when the market was in slump, in downturn, post-pandemic trauma. They delivered such a compelling fashion offer, and it was selling across the board. It was selling. It's such a joy to see. Their food has always been outstanding, but their fashion had not been. And I was full of admiration, because when all of their competitors were falling by the wayside, the market was in such distress. They did that, and I really hope that when Stuart Machin has finished with Marks and Spencer, which I hope is not, which I hope he stays there for a bit longer. I just want him to come and run the country, because that man is incredible. And obviously, they've had trauma lately. They've, had to deal with a malicious cyber attack that took their online business offline for like 2 months. I mean, it was unbelievable. But still, the announcement we get from the company this week is they're investing £300 million in their stores. They're keeping going. They're like, okay, that was a nightmare. I mean, not everybody could cope with what they coped with, the financial hit that they took. That was a nightmare. And it's almost like they've compartmentalized it and gone, okay, we're dealing with that, but we're not going to stop. They're still putting out fantastic partnerships on the fashion side. They're still investing in their stores. They haven't let it derail them. And I just think, it's just like, thank God, because amid all the gloom, they are our flagship. They're our national.
Yes.
Yeah.
To me, it comes across as if they redeveloped the love for the products.
Right.
Totally. And I just, I'm evangelizing, but I'm just so full of admiration, because they should be an inspiration to us all. We can't all be that big, but we can all have that attitude. And if we did, we'll be a better place, I think.
Agreed. I mean, so many. It was just so many brands that were in that kind of cohort, unfortunately, are not around anymore, are they? And it was so scary at one point. Do you remember, Lauretta, we would talk about it. I'd be like, oh, M&S, don't go. And it was, and they have just turned it around. It used to be quite uncool, right? To be like, oh, I get my underwear and food in M&S. That's all I do. Now it's like, oh God, have you seen what M&S have got? Their menswear's great, their women's wear's great, whatever. The beauty in M&S is incredible, the beauty hall. And I know we're not here to talk about food, but I'd be a lot thinner if I didn't have M&S, let me put it that way. Because the food is incredible. So and also it's just such a great story for British retail to see that they've weathered the storm, because it is, bless them, it is so tough out there. It really is. And, you know, we're reporting on the news every day about people laying people off and closing doors, etc., which is heartbreaking. And M&S, you know, they're weathering the storm, and good luck to them. And I want them to keep doing it. I mean, it's just great.
Yeah, it is fantastic. And just, I know we talked about this in part 1 of this fabulous podcast, but other, I guess, surprising thing, and I you know, mentioned it, is the return of the retail store. Because I don't think anyone, you know, saw that happening. I think we thought that everybody would be shopping almost entirely online now. It's still only about 30% of UK retail is carried out online. I thought that would be bigger by now. I'm glad it's not in some respects, because we need a healthy high street. But, you know, our high street was kind of gutted after the pandemic, and it's still not looking great in certain areas, but we are starting to see some really nice retailers open up, and new ones. So that's been a surprise, and it's been a really positive thing.
No, I see the same thing with Superdry. So on one hand, the founder and first CEO took over the helm again and turned that ship around. Yeah. And it is also seeing that revamp in the high street and making sure that, well, the course is back on what it should have been and what it was in the very beginning. So I'm seeing that same, reinventing itself, as I would almost say.
Yeah, I think it's a really good example of, you know, it's a tricky one, this, because I mean, it's a double-edged sword, but I think it's a really good example of the founder of the business left, somewhat against his will, by the sounds of it, and fought his way back in. And it sometimes takes that person that's got the real passion and the real knowledge and the real genuine
quite clearly,
can do that, and that's just a great example of that, I think.
That's the passion. When you said the passion, so now you see M&S, Superdry, companies like that oozing that passion again, and wanting to grasp the customer and make the customer happy, and that's what that was missing for a long time, I think. Good.
Yeah, and you see it time and time again. Brands get to a certain size, the founder cashes out, you know, fair enough, but it loses something and then sometimes just disappears. It happens a lot in beauty as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, we should talk about luxury as well, because obviously there's the news. Everyone's talking about how people aren't shopping as much in luxury, etc., and it's all all the designers moving around. I'm sure you've seen all the the musical chairs of all the designers being swapped around and stuff. And then the amazing Jonathan Anderson coming out with his first show for Dior Men, and was incredible. And do you know what? It was so exciting it was just exciting. You know what I mean? It was like, it all felt really flat. And, you know, like I said, the news, no one's buying luxury. And then he comes out with these most incredible, I mean, I'd be bankrupt if I had the money to spend on that. Yeah. So, and I just feel like, you know, the M&S story we just talked about, him doing that, it just feels a bit more buoyant for fashion. And it's been so long, it hasn't been. So it's exciting that's sort of, you know, there's good news is my point.
Yeah, I think, do you know what that is, Anne? Isn't it? It's creativity. So, and passion, as you said, Erik, because Marks and Spencer injected creativity and passion back into its fashion offer. Funnily enough, it paid off, because it's very, very easy to cut creativity. It's very easy to cut quality. It's very easy to go safe when times are tough. It's the worst thing you could possibly do, because it depresses your customer. When you look at that luxury space, those designers at the top of those big brands, it got a bit stale. They were just jacking the prices up every damn season. You're thinking, really? 7-8 grand for a handbag? Well, that would be a special handbag. Turns out it's the same handbag they were trying to sell you last season for $1,000 less. Yeah. And even if you've got all the money in the world, that becomes unattractive as a proposition. Oh, yeah. There needed to be a change. And it's interesting, you know, to see that they sort of shifted some of these designers around on this little merry-go-round. And Jonathan Anderson is just a hero for me, and I know for you. Same. I mean, he did such an incredible job at Loewe. That wasn't a brand that sold fashion, and he turned it into a culturally relevant powerhouse, basically, of fashion, that was beloved by people from Gen Z to Gen X and beyond. I mean, he didn't target it at any particular age demographic. It was just about people that appreciated good design and culture.
Yes.
And I was praying they'd put him into Dior, and we had all of this talk because I love Dior. I'm obsessed with it already, but it was going off the boil, and they put him in there, and what he delivered for menswear was it just made my heart go that bit faster. And I think that's what really good fashion should do.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see his women's wear. I am literally embarrassed to say how excited I am about Mathieu Blasi going to Chanel as well, because I cannot wait. I just think probably I attach too much importance to all of this, but what he did at Bottega was insane. So I can't wait to see what he does at Chanel. I will not be able to afford it, sadly. But I will see.
Yeah, lock up the Amex.
Yeah.
Indeed. So maybe I already know the answer, but for those that are now building their brand and building their fashion business in today's climate, what is that one non-obvious piece of advice you would give them?
My thing is just always, do you really love it, and do you really want to do it? You know, it's I had someone else say, it was like, oh, you know, is it going to kill you to not start that business? And I totally get what that means, because for all of the free, you know, when you're a founder of a company and stuff, and you've got that freedom and you've got all these things, but you're also shackled at the same time, because it is such hard work. It is emotionally killing, you know, it's draining. You have to be so many things at the beginning, you know, until you get to mid-size, you still have to have all these different hats and stuff. And so everyone always says the usual thing, you know, of like, hire people better than you and all that. And I get all of that, but I think it really is about, do you, you know, are you really going to do this? Because it is not all the fun stuff like we're doing now, right? This is fun. But, you know, tomorrow we might be packing goodie bags for an event on the floor. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's one of those. So I think if you're going into it because you think it's all glossy and lovely and you can do what you want, that's probably not the right reason to go into it for.
Yeah. I mean, you just have to ask yourself, do you really want to do it? Because unless you're prepared to give up your life and be a bit skinned, frankly, it may not be worth it, I think, because it is such hard work. But on that note, I always say, though, if you're dead set on doing it, work out what it is you are brilliant at, what you can do differently, you know, and really, really focus on that. Try not to be too many things all at once.
Yeah.
You know, like it's very hard to launch a full-on range of ready-to-wear and gain credibility quickly. I think it's about finding that thing, and it could just be something as simple as cotton shirts. You know, I'm just going to be absolutely brilliant at those. Everybody needs those, right? Everybody's going to buy more than one of those. I mean, the other thing is don't launch something where people are only going to buy one and then never come back to you. You know, because that's hard, because customer acquisition is the hardest thing. Right? So you know, I'm going to make this beautiful I don't know, trench coat, let's say, and it's £1,000 and everybody's going to love it. Well, yeah, but they only need one, and they might come back in 10 years' time. You'll be bust by then if that's what you're only ever going to be able to sell them. So think about that. Think about, you know, not in an unsustainable way, but can they purchase more of it? And can you then slowly but surely take that expertise you've got in that one thing and expand it? You know, so if you're good at shirts, you might be very good at pajamas, let's say. You know, the things that are adjacent, you can gently expand that brand credibly and people will buy into that. You know, just find that thing that you just think you can do really, really well and focus on that at the start. Yeah, I could say knitwear, footwear. But bear in mind, you don't want a brand where you can only sell something once and then they're done, because that's not a good model.
Yeah.
So when you give this answer, there must be that one, maybe two or three entrepreneurs, founders that you have in mind.
Yeah, I've got a
to
few.
which those kind of people can look up to and relate to.
Yeah. I mean, a couple spring to mind. I mean, I'll name one of your clients then, not for reasons of trying to promote you, but I think, and this isn't a brand I particularly, you know, aspire to wear or anything like that, because it's just not for me, but something like Gymshark is incredible. That is somebody who did exactly what I said, found that one thing that he could be really, really good at, which is, you know, gym wear, like proper working out, you know, people who lift weights, that's what he was into, you know, and he just slowly but surely expanded it and built a community around that brand, experience around that brand, culture around that brand. and it's just gone off like a rocket. And I don't know Ben Francis, you possibly do know Merritt, but I just admire the way he conducts himself. I think he's a powerhouse. I can't, and he's still so young, and he's somebody that's obviously given his heart, body and soul to that business, and I think deserves the success that he's had. So he's interesting to me. I think it's those people that really understand exactly what it is they want to do and are uncompromising that I really admire.
And they bring their heart to the table, quite clearly.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, who do you love? And you're quite
I'm obsessed with listening to founder podcasts and stuff, just because I want to, figure out if I'm doing it right. Probably not, but anyway. And then loads of beauty founders. I mean, Caroline Hirons, the fact that she, now has a brand, she's also an agency, the fact that she's got a podcast, she's got, she goes on tour, like, she is unbelievable. Colette and Mark from the Inky List, they are incredible. And the one, I'm getting all passionate about it now. The one thing that they all have that I wish I had more of is uncontrollable energy, because I'm sure they go home at the end of the day and sit in a dark room and decompress, but they just seem like they are constantly on and driving forward, and nothing is, I'm sure it is that duck thing where it's like everything looks fine at the top, but then they're freaking out at the bottom. But they just look like, they can, it's like, give me more. I can take this on. And, that is just so admirable. I think there's so many brilliant people out there doing great stuff that I admire.
I could probably give you a long list, but it's great.
Yeah.
They inspire me, they inspire me for what we do, because there are times when honestly this little old us, it just gets too much. God.
This other person in the screen being cheesy inspires me. So you've got to throw that in there.
I know. Yeah. And actually, we are lucky. We're lucky because here's the plus side of being an entrepreneur and founder, is you do get to choose who you work with. And we get to work with nice people. And like Bleckman being a prime example, you've been so great to us. And it's really, it's very personal when you set up your own business. And when you get the confidence and support of great clients, such as you, we work with some really big companies. It is very, very rewarding. So it's kind of worth the hard work sometimes.
Yeah. But and lastly, as a somewhat of a freebie for the audience, what do you see as opportunities for growth, and then the new opportunity for growth, of course, that new brands can explore to help propel them?
Oh, there's all sorts of places I think they can go. I'm quite enjoying, having been banging on a lot about physical retail, I am quite enjoying seeing a lot of brands stepping into areas like live shopping. I like that. I think it's a great opportunity for brands that have good stories to tell, that have great founders behind them, that they can sell their products in a live shopping environment, or have ambassadors for that product that they can sell. I mean, it's a lot on the founder, I realise, but I think that live shopping is quite interesting to me. I do think international growth is quite interesting for some brands, because even if you're small, you can still find an audience, a willing audience in other markets, if you've got the right people behind you to help you do that, and the right infrastructure in place. You can do that. So I would want people to not feel put off by international growth. I think it sounded scary post-Brexit. It sounds scary right now with Trump tariffs, and you just think it's totally impossible. But you can be surprised, because I'm a consumer here in the UK. I find tiny little Scandinavian brands and tiny little French brands that I'm obsessed with, and I buy them. So if I'm here in the UK doing that, there'll be people in those markets that would be willing to do that for your brand as well. And I think don't just think about your own little island or your own little patch of land in Europe. Think beyond those borders, and there's going to be a willing audience out there for you. And if you can, open a shop. They seem to be, or maybe pop up around various places, because I think physical retail can really propel you to the next level. Both physical retail stores and for your online sales as well.
And install a matcha bar, because apparently Match
Yeah.
if you have a matcha bar, you're made. Apparently, you know.
Absolutely.
If I see one more matcha, I think I'm gonna die. Honestly, it's like everywhere you go, someone's drinking a matcha. So clearly, that's where all the money is.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
eating like those cookies that are about
Oh yeah, the
6 inches.
cookies as well.
Have
Yeah.
those, have matcha in those cookies, and then everybody will come to your store.
God,
Yeah.
we sound like ancient people being like, oh, the kids are drinking matchas and eating
Yeah.
cookies. Like, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
while we're looking for our kings. Yeah. I know the feeling. I know the feeling.
Well, listen, I think I've got children, and one of them is starting to become a shopper. But let me tell you what they don't like. Hate trying things on, hate standing in queues for a very long time. Too much choice, not enough to amuse them while they're in there. So
The instant.
just make it really clear to them what they've got. Why should I come? So I've got interesting stuff for you to do while you're here. There's a very clear proposition. This is what we sell. You should be onto a bit of a winner, because they want to come and buy. But if they get there and it's all like, God, I have to queue. I have to queue for the checkout as well. I have to do that. Oh my God.
Yeah.
They're not patient with any of that. Why should they be, really? Because it's a bit of a miserable experience. So
Who does that amazingly? And the reason I say this is because there's two sides to this. Loretta and I went into a shop today or yesterday, I can't remember. The queue was round, it was round the shop. And we just walked out again. It was like, forget it, I'm not queuing. And then you go into a Zara in the middle of the city in London, and it's like, I had a return. This girl was like, don't queue, go over there, scan. You get a bag from underneath, you put it in the bag, you stick the label on, you shove it in the hole in the wall.
Yeah.
And I was out.
Yeah.
I mean,
and Uniqlo as well do that really well, don't they? You can go in and just check yourself out. I love that. I think, slightly off topic what you just asked there, I think we talked about technology in the first half of this two-part podcast. I wanted to say, and I didn't say it then, but I think the best executions of technology are where humans and technology interact. Don't ever forget the human element of your store, because sometimes people do want a person to speak to. Sometimes they do want to check out because they've got a query. They want to speak to a person behind the desk. They want all that, they want the chat. But sometimes they don't want any of that at all. It's like, I want to get in and out. Like that store we went in today, which will remain nameless. I went in to just buy some little shorts for my daughter, and I would do that quickly before I go and get the train. I'm not standing for 20 minutes in a queue just to check out. If they had a little checkout at the side, it's like, check yourself out. I didn't need any help. I would pick them up, beat my way out, and I'd be gone. But they lost a sale because, quite frankly, I know you're popular, but for everybody that comes in and is willing to stand in the queue, there's probably about 10 that walk out. So don't forget the tech and the human side of things, I would say.
Yeah. Don't forget who your customers are. Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for those valuable insights, and to my opinion, it's been an incredibly interesting and fun conversation. And thank you for sharing your knowledge and your expertise. But unfortunately, we need to conclude, guys. And we know that our listeners and our audience has enjoyed the chat like I did. But maybe they still have questions. And how will they be able to reach you guys if they want to ask you stuff?
Sure. They can follow us on all of our social media, so LinkedIn and Instagram at TheIndustry.fashion and TheIndustry.beauty. And then also come to the website. All of our content's free to view, so they can get some great insights there. Sign up to our daily newsletter. And add us on LinkedIn if they've ever got any questions. We're very open people, so they can reach out to us.
You are, yes, absolutely. So as I said, I would have loved to continue this conversation, but we've come to the end of our episode. And to the audience, I want to say, make sure you subscribe to the Beyond Thread podcast and follow Blackman on our social media channels. So that way you stay up to date on the latest trends and the innovations in fashion and lifestyle logistics. So I hope to see you soon for our next episode of our Beyond Thread podcast. And until then, see you soon.